You know that new special video game you've been wanting to play? You show me the picture and we'll go in there right now and play.
Strip video?
You got it.
Hi, I'm Johnny. This is Johnny Likes, the show where I talk about movies that I like. And today I'm talking about the 80s sex comedy that reignited my love of the genre. Today, Johnny likes Joysticks.
You tell him, Johnny. You tell the world.
Eugene Groby, who's played by Leif Green, is starting a new job at the local arcade, which is run by heartthrob Jefferson Bailey.
You work at the video arcade? Jeff Bailey's?
Who's definitely not played by a time-traveling James Marsden, but by a guy named Scott McGinnis, aka Mr. Adventure from Star Trek III.
Yeah, well, maybe that's okay for someone like you, whose career is winding down. I need some challenge in my life, some adventure.
Local businessman Joe Rudder, played by Joe Don Baker, hates the arcade, and he gets his idiot nephews to try and sabotage it. And they, of course, fail at every turn due to utter incompetence.
What's happened, Max? How much gas did you put in here?
I put in $1 worth.
What do you think this is, a moped?
Things between Bailey and Rudder escalate, culminating in a game-off between Bailey and King Vidiot, who's a local new wave goth kid, which will ultimately determine the fate of the arcade. So I went into this knowing not really much about it. I'd seen a GIF and the poster, and judging from those things, I was expecting some horny young folk, a video game theme, and hopefully some laughs. And I think it delivers on 2 out of 3 of those things. There are some sexy hijinks, there's strip video gaming.
Wait too long.
Oh,
Just
damn it!
your mind. I'm ready.
And just generally beautiful women throughout the film. And the video games do actually play a central role in the film. Unfortunately, there weren't too many laughs to be had. It's mildly amusing at best, which is usually my biggest problem with these sexploitation comedies from the era. They generally aren't all that funny. Now that doesn't mean that I didn't have fun with the movie, it just means that I could have had a whole lot more fun. Patsy, played by Corinne Bohrer, does an awesome Valley Girl voice.
Alfie, come over here and play Galactic with me. I just thought it'd be like way totally bitchin' if you would like play with me.
And whenever she was talking, I was smiling. She was the funniest thing about the movie to me. And funny coincidence, she was also in Zapped, another sex comedy from the era that I reviewed recently. The 2 main babes in the film, Alva and Lola, played by Kim Michelle and Kim Mallon, were both sexy and fun. Jim Greenleaf as McDorfus was kind of funny as the over-the-top slob. He was at the very least fun to watch, even though his character was an obvious ripoff of Blutarsky. Eugene and Jefferson played well off each other, and it was nice to see the nerd and the jock be friends without any sort of societal pecking order BS thrown in. Eugene calls his penis Simba, second funniest thing in the movie.
Ladies, prepare yourself. I would like you to meet Simba.
Smile.
The double entendre-filled, corny theme song was kind of fun.
Play with my joystick. Wiggle left, jerk it right.
And the film's general low-stakes, carefree vibe was perfect for what this movie is. The climactic game-off between Bailey and King Vidiot was anything but climactic. It was a complete letdown. Vidiot just stops playing because he thinks he's far enough that Jefferson's just gonna die and lose. And then Jeff just gets his act together enough to beat his score. It's not much of a showdown at all. Imagine if really any sports movie, but let's say the Mighty Ducks, if the rich and disciplined team had just pulled their goalie in the last few minutes and that's how the Mighty Ducks score their winning goals. That's what this felt like. The scene where Eugene is in bed with an asleep but still very horny Mrs. Rudder was too ridiculous for me. I can forgive Mr. Rudder not seeing a second person in bed because it's supposed to be dark. But I can't forgive that he wouldn't feel a second person or hear him. And I can accept that Mrs. Rudder is having a great dream. But not that she would mistake Eugene for her husband, or that she wouldn't freak out that there's a strange man in the bed with her. It just took it a little bit too far and brought me out of the movie. I couldn't suspend my disbelief that much. The overall lack of laughs in the movie. There was a couple chuckles, but no real laughs. And that's, as I mentioned, a common problem with sexploitation from the era. Let's be real, the main draw here is boobs, not jokes. This was the movie that reintroduced me to sexploitation movies from the 80s. I watched Zapped, Invisible Maniac, School Spirit, and Screwballs 1 and 2, all due to this movie. Those were all recommended movies on IMDb. If you like this, you'll like this, that sort of thing. And it's a genre that I have a fondness for that's all but disappeared. They do still make these movies, but just not nearly as often. So I always kind of wanted to watch movies like this when I was a kid, seeing them in the video store, but I wasn't about to grab these movies with the covers that they do have and bring them up to my mom or dad and be like, I don't know, it might be neat. It would have played out like that scene from Rick and Morty, where Morty is trying to get Rick to buy him the sex robot. Thankfully, I no longer have to run the films I watch past my parents, and so I occasionally watch these movies that I saw on the shelves when I was younger, but were unobtainable to me at the time. So despite this not being a very good film, truly, it's not, I do still kind of enjoy it. And I found myself coming back to it a few times over the last 6 months or so since I discovered this movie exists. And of the movies I mentioned earlier, I would put it on par with Screwballs. It seems like everyone is having fun making the movie, and despite there not being too many laughs, that fun is kind of contagious and bleeds through. And I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. I can't give it a blanket recommendation that it's a good movie for everyone, and I can't really rate it higher because it's just not that good. But I do know that there are those of you out there who will love this movie, or at the very least have fond memories of it. So those are my thoughts on Joysticks. You can let me know yours in the comments, and while you're here, do me a favor, like and subscribe. It's quick, free, and relatively painless, plus it helps me out. Thanks for watching me talk about movies for a little bit, and you can tune in next time to see what else Johnny likes.